Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
And welcome back, everybody, to Game Over Toronto.
Look at that.
Back from
Look
the
at
Battle
that.
of Ontario with a
Yep.
3-2 win over the Ottawa
Yeah.
Senators.
It was completely without any hiccups. It was the most smooth game, a clinic, so to speak. You know, the Leafs had a perfect game. They absolutely did not. But
Flawless.
Justin Hall, not Taylor Hall, though he
The
looked
redemption.
like Taylor Hall. Justin Hall, the Hall star.
The redemption tour of Justin Hall.
That's right. He just went in there. It was an ugly goal. Just put his stick in front, and then good things happen. And it was not the best of games, but the result is the result. And these are the types of wins that, you know, they failed to get last season. And that was kind of the difference why they were playing the absolute Stanley Cup champion wagon of the Tampa Bay Lightning and not the Washington Capitals. But hey, them's the breaks, and we hope that we keep that momentum going. A lot to talk about with this game for sure.
2 points is 2 points, right? And come April and March, those 2 points are going to matter. So let's talk about the game. Later on towards the end of the stream, we're going to be answering some of your questions, chat. So feel free to get those in. And we will be watching the chat and answering them as much as we can. So let's jump right into it. So can we agree that the Sens weren't necessarily better than the Leafs, but the Leafs just sucked more tonight? Even though they won, they looked like they were just chasing the game the whole game, which I guess they were, but
it was most of the game. I mean, you know, a lot of the time, the Leafs kind of looked like they were just, it looked like they were a whole new team. Like it looked like it was like they were all put together all at once, even though like the team has not changed functionally in the last like 4 years, completely the same team. But before we want to move on, do you want to bet? You can do it at Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook. Football's back, baseball playoffs, and hockey season is well underway. Bet pregame, live in play, or on one of our many prop bets. Made for Canadians, by Canadians. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out. Head now and see all sports betting has to offer. Head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. Ontario only, 19 plus. Please pay responsibly. So are we betting on that game, the Leafs to win it every time? Probably not, right? No. I mean, it looked like one of those games. At first, you know, I mean, obviously the win is the win, and we always feel, you know, vindicated by it. But you always feel that underlying feeling that they didn't really play as well as they could. It kind of felt like they were a team that was just thrown together. Like it looked like a World Junior squad, just everybody just throw them on there. Yeah. And not a team that's been functionally the same for the past 4 years. Like they did not change like anybody.
Personnel like that, right? Like it looked like they had never played together almost. It was the first period especially, the part that I got to see when I wasn't stuck on the subway.
Yes.
By the way, good save on that. And thank you to my Uber driver. Moreover, the game itself in the first period, the parts that I did see were just it was like they were just trying to force anything, and it just looked flustered and terrible.
Yeah, to Ottawa's credit, I mean, they kept them to the outside a lot at the beginning. At the beginning of the game, they kept the Leafs pretty well stifled. I mean, we were talking during the game that, you know, this is not Ottawa of Ottawa of 2 years ago. This is Ottawa like there are no easy outs in the Atlantic, not many easy outs in the East. Aside from maybe the Flyers, but you know, I mean, even them, I think they destroyed the Canucks today. But there's no easy outs in this Eastern Conference, so you have to be on every single game. And while they weren't, they still picked up 2 points. We have to talk about goaltending for sure. Ilya Samsonov looked really, really solid. That's one thing I picked out from today's game. Obviously, only allowing the one goal, and the glove side. Not his weakness, apparently, not like somebody else. They kept going glove side, and he kept keeping that puck out of the net.
Yeah, it was really nice to see. And he made that huge save, halfway through the second, And it was probably like the best save that he's made so far, where it was like the big flush in front of the net, and it got the crowd going and everything. And they at least really seemed to gain momentum after that, which was a breath of fresh air to see. Because again, it looked like the only time that they weren't running around like chickens with their heads cut off sometimes was after big moments like that today.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, then again, like this is harping. Obviously, we're harping on a win. We're nitpicking because we are damaged people. Okay, this team has damaged us many years. We'll only gives. They could have won 6-0, and I would have they really hold the zone very well. But I guess that's because we have such high expectations, and you can tell that by the crowd. I mean, I remember the first power play, the crowd was like audibly groaning at the lack of success going on in those power plays. And sorry.
Everything okay?
I'm on here. Sorry. Yeah. So obviously there's a lot to take away from this game that was really good. Especially some of the players, David Kemp getting another goal. Like, apparently he's a goal scorer now. All right. Apparently this guy who had like 3 goals or something before coming to the Leafs.
I think he had 2 on his last season with Chicago. I think he had 2 with his last season with Chicago. And in his first year as a Leaf, he quadrupled his total from the year before. So, I'm not saying he's absolutely going to stay, but I would like him to stay personally. I think that he brings something totally different to the team that we don't really have otherwise. You can't hear me? That's not good. Is that better? Are we back?
That's better.
Okay.
I thought we lost you there.
I don't know what happened there. I think that Camp is absolutely somebody that when he came here, he quadrupled his total from the year before in Chicago, right? I think he had 2 goals in Chicago right before he came to Toronto. And then last year, he was arguably one of our most reliable players and most consistent, right? You always knew what you were going to get, Mr. Defensive. And the goals that he did get, he lit the crowd up and really, really seemed to get some juice from that, which was awesome to see. I hope he stays for a long time because, again, he has something that I don't think a lot of guys on the Leafs really have.
Yeah, it's a great two-way presence for that fourth line. I mean, now the Leafs kind of have a 4-line team, and that is something that for a long time. They always seem to. There was always that fourth line. They always had to kind of like mishmash it together. There's those years they made those trades for like Thomas Plekanec, which was like, why are you doing? And then the year before was Brian Boyle, and it was 2 second-round picks out the door to bolster a fourth line
for nothing, right?
But now you have a really defined identity there. You have Camp, you have Obey Kubel, the breaker of the Stanley Cup to bring the cup to us.
Yep.
And then and then you have that really good defensive presence down there, and then somebody else, somebody that was always, whipping boy of Leafs Twitter is obviously William Nylander has looked fantastic out there. Obviously, scoring the tying goal, the 2-2 goal, 1 goal, it was a go-ahead goal, and he's looked fantastic. He's been everywhere, absolutely everywhere. These last couple games, has himself 2 goals. And I feel like his presence is really being felt.
And he put on like 10 pounds of muscle over the summer too, right? And he's been arguably like one of the best players in the top 6. Like Matthews has looked okay, and Bunting, when he's had his good moments, they've been really good. But the first line just doesn't seem to be clicking the same way as it was last year, which is, I mean, not surprising, but maybe slightly worrying. He's not on the road to 60 quite yet, right?
Yeah. I mean, he did. I think it's hard to forget that he did score the game winner against Washington because it was not a Matthews goal. It was a very put my stick out
and hope for the best.
Yeah, I'm going to embarrass your entire team and just rip this thing to shreds.
Yeah.
Type goal. So he's still on pace. He's still got his pace there, but
lots of games
it is
left.
awesome. Those goals can come in waves.
Yeah.
So. Again, it's always hard. It's always hard for us. We want to have these good takes. We want to make some proclamations, but it's a long season. The Leafs last season played like 3 different seasons. if
season, they started off looking like, oh my God, this team is going to be blown to shreds.
Yep.
And then, then they came back, and there's always going to be these highs and lows. So beginning of the season is just a matter of looking at each game as it is, and then
and sometimes watching games like this.
Yeah. So you hope for better, but again, at the end of the day, at least they're better. Their bad was better than their bad, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And an ugly win is still a win, right? And I mean, I wouldn't say that I feel like we're gonna plan the parade yet. But I definitely feel like if they can get some of their stuff together, Justin Hall all of a sudden has decided that he is, a two-way defenseman and is jumping up in the rush, and Muzzin too. Like he's if he's getting below the goal line, he's shooting basically. And there was a lot of movement on it. And at the beginning of the game, it did look very flustered. But as the game went on, they did seem to settle into some form of rhythm, which looked nice, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that, and then, we had a news drop earlier this game. It looks like the goalie controversy has been solved. It looks like Ilya Samsonov, I'm going to say it right one day.
One day.
The problem is it's been trained into our minds.
I know. I've been conditioned already.
Yeah. So Ilya Samsonov is going to be our goaltender for the foreseeable future, at least 4 weeks, from what I read on Twitter.
Yeah.
That's kind of the solution
to the goalie controversy as of now.
Matt Murray going down in practice with probably the worst injury for a goalie, being a groin /
abductor.
Abductor. I had to Google that because I was like, I think I know what this is, but I want to make sure. And then, of course, it says the average recovery time is between 4 and 8 weeks. So could be 4 weeks, could be Christmas.
Well, considering goalies do the splits about 10,
you probably want to get that thing
right.
Yeah.
A lot of players go down for a long time with those groin injuries.
I've never pulled one of those, but there used to be
in a gym called the adductor. And, you put it in there, and it just if you do it wrong, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
But so it looks like Ilya Samsonov is going to be the starter.
Really liked what I saw here today. I mean, you think you always wonder, like, the psychology of these players,
to where, like, what will positively motivate them. So would it be, some people
by competition to say, oh, I have to better myself and be better than this person. But you might also have a case where, pressure might get to them.
Yep.
Now, the crease is his functionally. That's his crease. It's going to be that way for a while. So you'd hope that that's going to positively motivate
to where
he can settle down.
Like, I don't know if whenever you're in a job and, you feel
that external pressure, some people, it does not work for some people. And, once you get comfortable, you can say, oh, this is my crease.
Yep.
This is my team for this foreseeable future, better or worse. So,
and now you have to take it back from me, right? And
that's gonna be the case.
Samsonov is young enough that, if he gets that, I mean, we don't want to look too far in the future, but if he can take that opportunity and run with it, then that's going to be great for him and for the Leafs in the interim, right? Like, I mean, we're lucky that Shelgren was able to back him up today. He got hurt yesterday in the Marlies game. He got run over in the net. And I actually had to Google, like, the next people that were available. And Keith Petruzzelli would be available, but he played earlier today. And then the next closest guy is, like, Dennis Hildeby, who's playing in the Swedish league. So not exactly somewhere that's just around the corner that you can go get another backup in case, someone else gets hurt again. And on top of that, Murray getting a groin injury, while it is arguably the most common injury for goalies to have, that's what took Campbell out multiple times last year and the year before. Freddie too, right? Like, it's and Mrazek. Like, I see groin injury now, and I'm just full of existential dread from the inside, eating me up like tiny little scarabs. It's awful.
Yeah. That seems to be the
Achilles heel, even though that's a different body part, but that's
the Achilles heel. Wasn't it last season where they literally got a U
to just sit on the bench?
Yeah.
last season.
Yeah, it was literally like a U of T goalie. It was like 18 years old.
Study for your midterms while you sit on the.
Just be aware you might have to go in there, but
yeah, you don't really want to.
But then again, hey, sometimes
This can work on the Scotiabank Arena,
as we've seen.
You got to bring that up, eh? You just.
Oh, we have to.
But Ilya Samsonov, I think it's the first time we've had such a goalie that's been like 25 under 25,
could reasonably be a part of
the future goalie. We've had younger goalies, but they were not at that level. Like a lot of the starters, like when we picked up Anderson, he was about 27, 28 years old. So having something that young in the net is also kind of exciting.
That's one storyline I'm really following this season is, can we find this guy who can be the goalie for a decade? Because we haven't had that. We've had these gaps.
We haven't had it in ages. I can't even just trying to remember the last time we had somebody that we drafted and brought up. Then Joseph Woll was supposed to be that, right? And then all of a sudden that's off the table.
Felix Potvin, I believe. And James Reimer. James Reimer was drafted and
that position.
Yeah, but he didn't stick around, right? I'm saying what if we had a Tuukka Rask-esque situation or Marc-Andre Fleury for the longest time being in Pittsburgh, right?
We did have that Tuukka Rask-esque situation, and we didn't have that anymore.
I might still be salty about it. Maybe a little bit.
Funny enough, Andrew Raycroft. He's a reporter for New England Sports Network.
Yeah, for the Boston Bruins. I just found this. Oh yeah. You look him up there. Yeah, shout out Andrew Raycroft. Come on the show with us for a Bruins game. We can talk about it. We can reminisce together. I don't think he'd want to do media in Toronto. No. I'm pretty sure. I feel like it's kind of his way of getting a little back at us there. Doing some nesting. Yeah, he has a Boston podcast.
Wow, traitors.
Yeah,
traitors.
Food for thought there. Food for thought.
And then we should go for James Reimer just to make Steve jealous.
Oh, I think Steve would be quite happy with that.
Imagine. Oh my gosh.
I think I like a good redemption arc.
Oh yeah.
Imagine he comes in and just
wins us the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, come on. I don't think Steve could handle that.
I think he would just
happy cry.
And James Reimer, I think it would be.
It would be too much. It would be a lot.
That'd be it. Yeah.
Or even Tampa has Vasilevsky and Winnipeg has Connor Hellebuck. I would do awful things to be able to swap Hellebuck for Murray. Could you imagine? What would that cost? What do you think? If we wanted tomorrow, if Kyle Dubas went to Winnipeg and they were like, okay, listen, we want Hellebuck. What's it going to cost? What do you think the cost is?
It would be probably the prospects, the top prospects you were thinking of. It'd be like Nyes, Robertson, Topi Niemela, and first
and a goalie.
Yeah.
Not to say, listen, if he's doing well enough where you think you can win a Stanley Cup, then I might think about that. But then again, goalies are absolute voodoo.
Yeah.
You just know what you're going to get with a goalie. I mean, look at Carter Hart.
He was brought in.
He was supposed to be. He was
the savior.
He was more tempered. He was the
savior because Canada has not had a goalie. I do not know the last goalie that Canada really had.
Carey Price would like to have a word with you, actually.
Carey Price, that's right. I might.
Well,
Montreal fans can be angry with me. I'm sorry. I don't know if Montreal fans are watching this stream, but maybe I think Andrew might be watching and he might be angry at us. So
that wasn't me, Andrew. Just saying.
But yeah, so you see, and then Carter Hart the next season, and
so it's one of those things
so hard to determine. Being an NHL GM, how do you even just decide a goalie? You're you just hope for the best.
This guy looks like he stands up.
Let's get him. I don't know how they evaluate goalies. That's because none of them come from the first round. A lot of them come just from the late rounds.
Yeah.
I think it's literally just luck. I think
this guy has a cool name and he's big and
moves quickly. Let's see.
How quickly does he catch his phone when he drops it? That should be the real test, right?
Yeah, if he drops this, it goes, and they just.
That's it. All right, should we get to some questions?
Absolutely.
So we'll ask the chat. Do you think that the Leafs should just maybe keep Murray on LTIR if the injury is long and trade for somebody, or the chat should let me know their thoughts? That's what I'm saying. Let's look back and see some of the questions that we got here. Got that dog on him. Jack Campbell, former Toronto Maple Leaf, just surrendered the first goal of game between Calgary and Edmonton. I love Jack Campbell, and I wish him nothing but wonderful things and puppies and smiles because he deserves all of the good things.
He's a great guy. He's great. I just love that. He just has that kind of personality.
He's
where
like
it's
a human golden retriever, where you're just like, I just love you.
He's just like, hey guys, yeah, we played the best out there.
You love that. But
I really did like him. I really do kind of root for him in Edmonton.
It's hard not to. Come on.
October, if he can be like last year's October Jack Campbell, where he was like basically Superman and every superlative, then Edmonton could be seriously scary.
But how long can he keep his groin in a great condition playing like October Jack and November Jack, right? Like,
that's the thing.
They're all good things come with a cost, right? Like eventually the miles catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we
hope for the best for Jack Campbell.
And
next opponents we have coming up, we have
the Arizona Coyotes.
Yep.
And the
alleged NHL team,
the Coyotes.
There's a great comment coming to town on Monday, right?
Yep.
Ben Kozleg in the chat says third and fourth liner is so interchangeable, such a luxury. You're absolutely right. I am actually, Ben, you have a great point. I think that having the fourth line and third line be able to swap back and forth is going to be such an asset, especially, down the stretch and later into the season and everything. The third line, like I said last year, was probably our most consistent line across the board. Like, you just didn't have to worry about it. And Ben also says, can we call the fourth line the five guys line? That's hysterical. And I am absolutely calling them that now. Oh my gosh.
I love it.
You get applause for that, Ben.
I love it. Yeah. That's one thing I wanted to mention too, is that like we finally have a third line center, it looks like. We finally have it set down the middle. I don't know, like with Kampf in that position last season, I felt like, as great as he is, offense is not his strong. Like he was really tough on offense.
But he was also unbelievable in the faceoff dot as a center too.
Yeah, but having the interchangeable, like that's the thing. Depth is going to be paramount because people get injured a lot in hockey. I'm not sure if we know that, but that's the thing. When you have a lot, having that depth is going to be absolutely paramount for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's that again in the playoffs. If you can do that, if you know that, I mean, we haven't really seen a lot of like third and fourth line scoring so far. Kalle Jarnkrok had a good goal the other night. That was nice to see, and he got rewarded for all the hard work he's done.
Yeah,
active. I really like that pickup. That's going to be
under the radar pickups. That's one thing that Kyle Dubas has actually been really good at.
Yeah.
Trades are another thing. And letting random players go is another thing. But it's good when you see. I think we mentioned this before, but when you see guys like where we get these guys kind of like free wallets, so to speak.
Get Dennis Mulligan.
These guys on free agency, it kind of makes up for the ones that get away.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of them.
Lots of them.
Mason Marchment, of course, is like everything the Leafs could have possibly needed. And then, of course, they had Jared McCann for about a week. I'm still not over that, by the way. I'm absolutely not over that. I'm like, why did you trade for this guy? He's got 70 points. He's got 26 years old.
Seattle Kraken leading goal scorer.
And then you're like, no thanks. I will just keep this,
this
third
random
pairing defenseman.
Yeah.
I
get the logic of that. If somebody can explain it.
I when I saw that happen, I was like, I tried to think. I'm like, how can I defend this? And I cannot be defended. There was no defense.
I mean, I guess in that situation, the Leafs probably go with the evil they know, right? They knew who Alex Kerfoot was and what they were going to get, and maybe they had more question marks with Jared McCann, so that's what they were comfortable with. I mean, I think that Kerfoot's going to walk at the end of the season if he's not traded, and Kalle Jarnkrok, I think, is going to take over the role of Swiss Army man, and I think that they should use the money that they get from that to either sign a better goalie or to extend Kampf, because I think that Kampf is, again, there's so few players, not even on the Leafs, but just across the league that play the way he does. I think he defensively, he's super underrated. He's super fast. He doesn't have a great shot, but he is really good. He's got great positioning. He's got always got a good stick in the way, blocking off lanes and everything. And like,
Yeah.
I really do think that in a very small, hard to pin down kind of way, David Kampf has something that a lot of players don't.
Yeah, absolutely. So I also wanted to talk about the opponent there. What did you think?
I mean, I
don't root for the Sens because they're the Senators, but I always want to like that. It's nostalgic to see, a good Sens team and a good Leafs team. We haven't seen that in 20 years where both teams, where it was like an equinox of them being good at the same time.
It's been a long time since any Senator gave me nightmares like Danny Heatley. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember that in that top line of Heatley, Heatley, it was Heatley, Alfredson, and who was it? Who was the third one? I'm blanking so hard.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I hated the Sens, so I made a point to not remember anybody, but I could not avoid Danny Heatley. Oh my gosh, that man haunted my dreams.
Yeah. Oh, he was a Leafs killer.
Claude Giroux had a great game. He got his first point, his first goal as a Senator, and I'm sure he was glad to have that. I'm not going to congratulate him. No offense. Game over, Ottawa, but
hey,
but they're part of the network. They're part of the team, so go watch them after you watch us. And
absolutely.
Leafs, how much you like Leafs better, but give them a watch. They're good. Yeah. They're fantastic. We love them.
And of course, after tonight's stream, there's going to be Game Over Edmonton and Game Over Calgary and the full slate. Anytime you want any kind of hockey to content and there is a Canadian market playing, one of us is going to be live talking about how awesome the game was.
Or awful.
Or awful. Or both. Right?
Or both.
Sometimes, like tonight, you win the game and you still hate the way your team played.
Oh, absolutely. But I think that's every Leafs game.
I don't know. That last game they had against the Jets last year, I loved that game. I would watch that game on repeat if I could. Where Matthews scored 50? Oh my gosh. Or 55.
Oh, right.
Oh my
gosh. That is right.
When he broke the record.
I was in the building for that.
It's working.
That was my first Leafs game I ever went to in person.
Oh, good game you picked there, huh? Wow.
Right? And I got really good tickets. I only had one ticket and it was off to the side, but it was like 8 rows from the actual glass. It was like, it was a great experience. Shout out Mike Ross for making an awesome night even better that night, who brought me up to the broadcasting booth and everything, and I got a picture.
Oh, Mike Ross?
Him. Oh yeah.
Mike Ross is a beauty.
Absolutely.
Very nice guy. Very great voice. The man, if you guys don't know, the man who lends his voice to every goal score. He's the PA address announcer in the arena. I remember that game when Austin scored the 50th goal. Why were people throwing hats on the ice? They just kept throwing stuff on the ice.
I think they just were excited. I didn't throw my hat. I did not partake.
If this
past the first round.
He also looked confused that there was hats being thrown.
I was confused. What are you doing? The game's not. What are you doing?
He didn't score a hat trick.
Honestly, if this team ever makes it past the first round, like there's gonna be
riots in the streets.
They're gonna have to build bigger.
Like the glass has to be as tall as
it's gonna be like World War Z, where they climb up the wall all together. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's gonna be absolutely madness. When it happens.
Yes, absolutely.
Speaking into existence.
Absolutely. So we're sort of nearing the end of our stream. Before we take off here, everybody, I just want to give a quick shout out to two people who have birthdays tomorrow. SDPN's own Chris Johnston, who is running in the Scotiabank Marathon tomorrow, and my sister Leslie, whose birthday is tomorrow as well. Happy birthday to you both, and to everybody that has birthdays today and tomorrow.
And every day.
And every day. So Game Over will be back on Monday after the Arizona Coyotes game. Again, my name is Lauren. My Twitter is Lauren6.
My name is Fouad. My Twitter is @Fouad_sports. I think because I'm newly new to Twitter, but
yes.
Follow it.
I'm
gonna
retain you. So yeah, that is it, everybody. I hope you guys had a great
night and you enjoyed
adventure back and forth about this confusing game.
Yep.
And
thank you very much, and
we will see you next time.
Peace out. Take care, everybody.